Hello, hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and this is How. I show you how to get stuff done, not just to think about it, but to really make a change. Let's jump onto Cube. I want to talk to you about what happens when you amass lots of ideas and you have to try and sort them out. So here we go. So welcome to Cube, where the sun, as you know, is always shining. This is a cubicle which is used to transform a normal presentation into a virtual presentation. One day I'll show you around this. It's called the workshop generator. But I want to start here with an idea from my book, which is called Who Killed the Spark? Important thing, which animal do you see first is the question. Some of you will see a monkey, some of you will see a tiger, some of you see other things. But there are many different animals in there. But the most important thing is something comes to mind. When people observe, when you watch things, when you collect data, you tend to spot one pattern rather than others. But this is a method which you can use for looking at all the different patterns and extracting as much as you can from every single experience. I learned this working with IDEO, with Colin Burns and with Tim Brown. And we put this together. I put this together with Colin. It's one of his favorite tools. And I'm just sharing it with you so you can actually take any observation you have and make sense out of it. So let's start over here. So where I want to start is with this. This is obviously what you would describe as a problem. What's a problem? A problem is quite simply the thing that stands between you and your goals. That's what a problem is. So some of the things you'll observe are simply just problems, okay? Things between where you are and where you're trying to get to. If you don't have any goals, guess what? You don't have any problems. So have a think about what are you trying to achieve and what's standing in the way and what have you observed about that. And really, this is the pet which we use. We capture the problems, tend to use diagrams, tend to take pictures, tend to describe it in few words. So it's easy to explain to people. What's the problem? The problem is X, Y, Z. And this is why it's getting in the way of our goals. So that's the problem. Let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at this one here. This one is the other one. This is a burger shoe. And it brings to mind a story about a chap who turned up in a country, poor country, where he observed that two shoe salesmen arrived in a country which is quite poor. When they arrived, they realized that no one wears any shoes. So one salesperson emails to say, no business opportunities here, no one wears shoes. The other one goes, lots and lots of business opportunities here, 100% market growth because nobody wears shoes. So that's the difference between looking at a problem or situation and working out what an opportunity is. An opportunity excuse me, is a potential stepping stone to your vision. That's what an opportunity is. People use the words, but we often don't define them. So look at the list of things you're observing. Are there any opportunities? Yes, you're looking, no one's wearing shoes, but does that give you a chance, a stepping stone towards trying to sell lots of shoes? So the third one I'll share with you is this one here, which is over here, which is about a project which I did once with a company called Cadbury, which basically they sold chocolate. I got the executives to sit and observe their products being interacted with by customers at petrol stations. We call them service stations, some people. And so I got them there just to sit and watch. They got bored. They, what's this, Eddie? Anyway, after a while, they realized there's a dance. Adult walks in with child. Adult is walking past these things. Child says, me want one. They say, no. Then the child looks at me want one. No, the child, and he says, okay, be quick. So the child can't decide because there's so much choice. So from that little insight, we created this thing called Cadbury's Heroes, which made millions and millions. Okay, basically a box with all the little ones as miniatures in the same box. An insight is a conclusion which you get from an emergent situation. You know, usually the soundtrack to an insight appearing is the okay. So that's an insight. The fourth thing to look at is this one here, and this one is slightly different. This one is a a slogan from Sprite: "Obey your thirst." Okay. Now, saying you're thirsty and you should drink is great. Obey your thirst. It's probably a little bit too much from something which calls itself a sprite, which is basically an evil demon. But apart from that, it's a way of trying to get the gap between what's observed and known explained, and that's what's known as a need. A need is the gap between what people really have to have, I'm thirsty, and how things might be I'm no longer thirsty. And obey your thirst is a way of trying to get people to realize that they have a need, even if it's a bit of a strange way of describing it. So the next one is, do you have any thoughts or any needs? And then the final one, which I'm going to share with you, is this one here, which is about, you can see there are lots and lots of different things you could play in your buzzword bingo, but also these are categories of things. There is no correct way to categorize anything on this planet. You probably know that already. And whenever you put together cars, then you end up with an amphibian car. Is that car or a boat? You know, people try to do it with this thing called identity politics. You got to put it together and say, oh, all those people are, I don't know, one color or other. But when you look at them, they're all slightly different colors. And maybe the bottom of their feet, like my palms of my hand aren't black, but this brown. Am I black or not? You know, so it's not possible to put things into categories, but you can create themes. Themes are not real, so never fall for them. They're not real things. But a theme is a name of a pattern that seems to recur. So that's what a theme is. So when you look at the data you observe, are there any key themes? And these all come together and they create what we call the PET, which is called point. Take your data. What are we aware of any problems? Capture those on the first PET I showed you. Are there any opportunities? Capture those. Any insights? Any thoughts of any needs? What are the key themes? And that allows you to structure data when you have a lot of it and you can't figure out what to do with it. So that's point. I use it as a way of seeing my way through the vast volume of data to try and get to some patterns and some opportunities and some insights, problems, opportunities, insights, and needs and themes. So then we can act. So that's point. Subscribe to the newsletter. Put it into practice today. Just look at your life. Write down all these things on your point. See all the different elements in your life at the moment and see what you can act on. Why not? If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't got the newsletter, get the newsletter. I've been Eddie Obeng. I'll see you again.